How's it going, y'all? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm doing another solo pod today. My guy, Drew Johnson, cannot be with me today. He's got some family-related stuff going on, so hopefully we'll have everything, back on track Thursday and Saturday when the Mavs take on the Utah Jazz and then the San Antonio Spurs. But I just wanted to come on here and recap what happened in the Mavs game against the Golden State Warriors on Tuesday night. It was a game that, there was a lot of hype around it because it was Klay Thompson's first game, against his former team, a team he spent 13 years with, 11 seasons. 2 of those seasons he was injured for and didn't play in, but 13 years with the same team, won 4 titles, so it was a big deal. They gave him a very touching tribute at the beginning of that game. Steph Curry gave some nice words toward Thompson. All the people in the crowd had their Captain Klay hats. It was nice. It was nice. It was well deserved. He gave that franchise everything for more than a decade, and he has the hardware to back up that hard work that he put in. So that was really great to see. Now, as for the game, Klay individually, he had a pretty solid game. He had 22 points on 7 of 17 shooting, hit 6 of his 12 threes, had 4 rebounds, 3 assists to go with it. But the Mavs, they couldn't come out on top. They ended up losing this game 120 to 117, their third consecutive loss, their fourth loss in their last 5 games. So things are not trending in the right direction. All these losses here recently have just been excruciating one possession losses too. It's crazy. The one against Golden State hurt more, in my opinion, because the Mavs had a 112 to 105 lead with 4 minutes left. And they had, a possession where they could have potentially added to that lead. They could have made it a 9 or even a 10-point lead going under 4 minutes, and they just weren't able to put the kill shot in. So that's what makes this one hurt the worst. When they were up 112 to 105, the Warriors finished the game on a 15-5 run to end the game, which is just gut-wrenching. Steph Curry had the Warriors were up 1 toward the end of the game. There was like 30 seconds left. And Steph Curry had the ball, got the switch on to Derek Lively, who made his return from missing several games due to a shoulder sprain. Lively, instead of letting Curry go inside, he bit on Curry, faking like he was going to go inside. Curry stepped back behind the three-point line and nailed a dagger 3 to put the Warriors up 4, which essentially, ended the game. So it was unfortunate. It was unfortunate. It was one that hurt, especially considering, I feel like all Mavs fans would have loved to see Klay Thompson come back to Golden State, to the Bay, and get a big win over the team he decided to leave after 13 years. But it didn't work out that way. And the Warriors, they are looking awfully good to start this season. I don't know how long that's going to last, because Curry and Draymond Green, they're getting up there in age. And I don't know if, they're going to continue to get the kind of production they're getting out of certain guys, like DeAnthony Melton, Andrew Wiggins. Buddy Hield has just been off to a sizzling start so far this season. I don't know how much it's gonna hold up, but we'll see. They look awfully good so far, a lot better than what the Mavs have looked like. But here's the thing: I'm not hitting the panic meter yet because, one, it's still just way too early in the season, but two, you look at the Mavs net rating, which is somewhere around, it was like 3.5, I think what I saw is somewhere around 3.5. They essentially have the same, or if not a little bit better net rating than what the Phoenix Suns currently have, and yet the Suns are sitting at the top of the West. So what that tells me is that these issues the Mavs are having are very fixable. They're major issues in the viewpoint of it's costing them games, but they're not major enough issues to where it's gonna keep them from figuring it out. Like it's very easy stuff, and I said it in some of the previous pods. The Mavs' biggest issue is attention to detail right now. It's getting off to fast starts and paying attention to detail, securing defensive rebounds. Uh, because I mean, look, some people want to argue that it's the personnel, it's the players that the Mavs have collected together that's the reason why they can't grab rebounds. And to a certain extent that might be right, but overall I disagree. This is about effort. This is about paying attention and pursuing the basketball. At all times, you should have Jason Kidd should have every Mavs player having a nose for the ball. You are always attacking the ball and going after it. There are several times, and not just last night. It did happen last night, but several times going back through several of these losses where there is an open rebound. There's a rebound that, 2 or 3 Mavericks are able to grab it, and they just stand around looking at each other like they don't know what to do. And in that split, not a split second, but in that 1 or 2 seconds where they're just kind of looking at each other like, oh, what do we do? Somebody from the other team is jumping in there and getting an offensive rebound. And it's killer. It's killer. It happened one time last night when the Mavs had built some momentum and they were up double digits at one point in that game last night. They went up by 11, I believe. And they had a chance, or they would have had a chance to expand that lead in the first half. And they gave up one of those, Luka and I forget who the other player was, were just looking at each other, and they gave up an easy offensive rebound that led to a layup. So you see stuff like that. It's very frustrating, but here is my glass half full take to kind of, keep as a fan base, I don't think we should be freaking out this early, because when have we ever had a Jason Kidd led team that's gotten off to a fast start? It'd be great if they did, because all these games matter and it affects seeding at the end of the year. I mean, I'm not saying it's not important. Obviously, we want the Mavs to get off to a great start, but when have they gotten off to a great start in the Jason Kidd era? It just hasn't happened. So my glass half full take is that they are going to figure this out. They're still working out the kinks. If you just get a collective, if each guy on the team just gives like a 5% more attention to detail effort on a nightly basis, the wins are going to start stacking up. So that's my optimistic take at this. They're going to get better. Lively, he came back from missing 3 games. Luka wasn't there for preseason. A lot of the guys didn't play significant minutes in preseason. PJ Washington's been out for a handful of games with a sprained knee. He should be back Thursday against Utah. So once they get these guys back and they iron out these few minor details that in the grand scheme of things is costing them these games, whether, it's stuff early in the games that are adding up and costing them the game later. I know we've had some talks about how Luka and his shot selection at the end of games, or, Kyrie Irving, as great as he has been offensively to start this season, he even said it. He's had a couple of, costly turnovers in clutch time in the 2 games prior to the Golden State loss. So, I look at that stuff and I think this is something that can be easily fixed going forward. I'm not worried about them yet. It's frustrating. It is definitely frustrating, but it's not something that can't be fixed. Looking at some stats from this game, just want to, read off what everybody did from the box score. But Luka, he finished with 31 points, had 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. But he did have 5 turnovers. He shot 13 of 27 overall, just 2 of 10 from 3. Kyrie Irving, 21 points, 6 assists, shot 8 of 13 overall, just 1 of 3 from 3. And he also had 5 turnovers. So, that's not ideal. You're starting backcourt, which is arguably the best backcourt in the NBA, combining for 10 of your 17 turnovers isn't great. So, turning the ball over, lack of rebounding. When you have Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively and you lose the rebounding battle by 3 to a Warriors team that really doesn't have any rim protection. Trace Jackson Davis is great, but the Mavs have the size advantage and they just didn't utilize it. They didn't they didn't take full advantage of their size advantage, and they shouldn't be losing in the rebounding department. And they wouldn't have lost in the rebounding department if they would attack those rebounds and secure the defensive rebounds. They're way too lackadaisical with it. So, that's two of the main areas that cost the Mavs in this game: turnovers and lack of rebounding. So, that's how the 2 stars did. Daniel Gafford had 15 points, 6 rebounds. Najee Marshall, just 6 points and 3 rebounds. He had some good defensive plays in this game, as expected. And we talked about Klay Thompson and his great night. And off the bench in his first game back after missing a couple games with that strained shoulder, Derek Lively led all bench players for the Mavs with 12 points on 4 of 6 shooting and had 8 rebounds and 2 assists. So, and he had a block. So, what I learned in this game is Lively is very important. Now, with that being said, there are some things that he could definitely do better as we go from this game on. And I'm going to talk about that on the other side of this break. But I got to pay a few bills. Stick with me. I'll be right back to finish this thing up. What's up, y'all? We're taking a quick break to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Want to play Prize Picks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code STEPBACK to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code STEPBACK on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Okay, so Derek Lively. Let's talk about him. He's obviously very important to this team. The Mavs definitely need him to win. But last night, and whether it was just, rust with him being out or, if it's a sophomore slump, whatever the case may be, he wasn't defending out in space in a way that we know he can do. Like for example, like in the Mavs run to the Western Conference Finals, the Mavs did much better with Lively in the game over Gafford because Lively's defensive versatility is better. He can, he's not a perfect defender out on the perimeter, but he can go out on the perimeter and guard fairly well. Last night against the Warriors, that was not the case. He was getting blown by a lot, giving up, layups. He had that mental lapse against Steph Curry in the final minute of the game, giving up the 3 in a game where you're up by 1. If you give up a 2, it's fine. You still have a chance to tie it. Giving up an open 3 to Steph in that situation, you've been better off to funnel him towards the rim instead of doing what you did. So he, and even guys like DeAnthony Melton, they were, they had him on a yo-yo pretty much and getting to the rim at ease. Kuminga got him one time. So, he's good. He's really good. The potential is going to be incredible over the next several years. But you could see last night where he was having some issues. And Lively is a very smart, high IQ player. He's still just 20 years old. And I have no doubt, based on what we've seen in the past, he struggled at the beginning of last season for the Mavs, his rookie year. And then he just progressively got better and better and better as the season went on. And I expect him to do the same this time around too. He knows how to take something, learn from it, and apply it to his game, going forward, to help him get better. I think he's going to do that again this season. But I think it's very apparent that Lively needs to be the starter. Gafford, he's scoring more, which is great. I think that scoring punch could benefit the bench really well. But, Gafford starting at center last season worked. It helped get the Mavs up to the 5 seed, and then they made that run in the playoffs. But in the playoffs, even though Gafford was starting, Lively ended up playing more minutes than Gafford. He was the more important center. And Jason Kidd even said in training camp, or at the beginning of training camp, that Lively was going to be the starter to start the season. And then, it would be a fluid situation from there. But then for some reason, I don't know what changed between training camp and the start of the season, because by all accounts, Lively was great during training camp. Kidd decided he was going to stick with Gafford. So he went completely against what he said he was going to do, which I guess is a typical Jason Kidd thing, kind of maybe he was just playing mind games with the media. But I think you have to start Lively. I think you do. And then, Klay, we've talked about this a little bit too. I think he can stay in the starting lineup if you can get, the rebounding and the defense figured out with everybody collectively in that group. Now, if you keep getting off to these slow starts, then I think you have to have a tough conversation with Klay about, hey, it's like, you're playing really well, Klay. You're hitting threes like we're asking you to. You're doing a great job, but maybe we can just get you to come off the bench, and then we can stagger your minutes with Luka and Kyrie. You still play with both of them throughout the course of a game, but maybe just bring him off the bench to where Luka and Kyrie can get going early, and you have 3 positive defend. Not saying Klay isn't a positive defender. He wasn't against Golden State, but overall he's been solid defensively this season, at least from the eye test. So, that's what I keep looking at. It's like, even though Klay is playing well individually, if it's keeping Luka and Kyrie from getting off to good starts, and if it's keeping guys like, Najee Marshall or PJ Washington or whoever from getting off to good starts, maybe that's the button that needs to be pressed to help this team get to the next level. Because, Klay played a lot better statistically for the Warriors last season when he was coming off the bench. I don't know if he probably didn't enjoy coming off the bench, but the production said otherwise. He played a lot better. And then Golden State, the guy they got to replace Klay, Buddy Hield, they've got him coming off the bench. And guess what? Buddy Hield is lighting it up, and the Warriors are a better team because of it. So, that's kind of what I'm looking at, and I think it's something for Kidd to at least consider going forward. But before we take off here, I just want to I got to shout out Steph, who was absolutely incredible. Steph and Draymond Green were both incredible in this game. They are by far the best Warriors players. And without them, the Warriors would have been dead in the water. Steph in 35 minutes was a plus 24. Draymond in 32 minutes was a plus 20. Steph had 37 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Draymond Green had 11 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Some of the defensive plays that Draymond Green made on Tuesday night were unreal. He looked like prime Draymond, from those championship years. He was He was absolutely unbelievable. And so far this season, he's shooting nearly 50% from three. It was 45% going into last night's game, and then he hit 2 of his 4 attempts. So he was 50%. So he's shooting probably 46, 47% from three now to start this season, which is insane for Draymond. I don't think it's going to keep up. I think the Warriors are good, but I just don't know how this is going to hold up for the course of an 82 game season because uh, Steph and Dre, they're not spring chickens. One injury setback to either one of those guys, and you have some issues for a pretty decent amount of time trying to collect wins and be as high as you can be in the Western Conference standing. So we'll see. The rest of the West, the league in general, is having a ton of early season injury issues. The Pelicans, good Lord, they pretty much their entire team except for Brandon Ingram is injured. My guy Kirk Henderson at Mavs Moneyball made the joke the other day. Since I live an hour and a half away from New Orleans, said that I needed to, sign a 10-day contract to go play for the Pelicans a little bit. So, it's the Mavs have a chance to get things back on track against two teams they should beat coming up here against the Utah Jazz and the San Antonio Spurs. So we'll see how they do. It's still early. Right now, things aren't looking good in the standings, but, 3 of the next 4, I'm looking at they play Utah, they play San Antonio, then they play at Oklahoma City, which is going to be very tough. But, Oklahoma City doesn't have Chet for the next 8 to 10 weeks at a minimum. So you have a chance to do something there. Lively and Gafford will have a chance to shine in that one. And then you have the New Orleans Pelicans, who are just completely decimated. So really good chance for the Mavs to at least go 3-1 over these next 4 games. And, hopefully by the time they play Denver after that 4-game stretch, the record is looking a lot better than what it does right now. So, guys, I appreciate y'all coming in and listening every single time we decide to record. Again, my guy Drew, he has some stuff going on, and it's always family first, and nothing dire, but he had some stuff he had to take care of, and like I said, we're gonna try to have both of us back on here Thursday night to talk about Mavs and Jazz. So I appreciate it. Y'all please go. Y'all please go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and on Apple Podcasts. Leave your social media on Apple Podcasts when you leave a review, and it automatically enters you for a chance to win future giveaways. So if you want to throw your name into the hat for any of our future giveaways, and no repeat winners, so you'll always have a decent shot at winning those, be sure to go do that. Thank you very much. Y'all make this worth doing. We're going to do this for every single game this season. We appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.